Breaking news right now from the White House. They say they are not commenting on these reports that the United States and Iran have reached a principal agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This is Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirms there is being progress made.
Suffice it to say that some progress has been made, significant progress, although not final progress has been made. Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. They will never possess a nuclear weapon, certainly not as long as Donald Trump is president of the United States.
Plus, a suspected gunman shot and killed near the White House. New details on the man who allegedly opened fire at a Secret Service checkpoint while President Trump was in the Oval Office. And a record-breaking race in the Lone Star State, why the Texas Senate primary runoff between Trump-backed State Attorney General Ken Paxton and Senator John Cornyn is seeing the most money ever spent. The role Tuesday's face-off could play in deciding the fate of the midterms and the balance of power in Congress. Plus, a live look at the West Coast with memorial travel well underway. But severe weather is already impacting holiday plans for millions of Americans. Who's getting hit the worst right now? What to expect out there on the roadways and in the skies as you're going to be making your way home from a long weekend. And in celebration, or in honor, we should say, of Memorial Day, I'm going to be talking with country singer Gretchen Wilson, who's performing tomorrow at the National Memorial Day Candlelight Tribute at Arlington National Cemetery. I'm excited to talk with her. She's a redneck woman. You know her, right? Can't wait to talk with her. Everybody, I'm Anna Koyman here in New York. It's Sunday, the 24th of May, 3 o'clock on the East Coast. This is NewsNation Live. All right, we're going to go straight to this breaking news out of the White House, where we are following the shooting that took place at a security checkpoint Saturday evening. NewsNation correspondent Chris Flanagan is on the scene right now. So, Chris, what do we know about the president's plans following the shooting?
And good afternoon. Well, President Trump is here at the White House, and we're told he has no public events on his schedule for today. He's been here all weekend long. A source telling NewsNation President Trump was working on the Iran peace process in the Oval Office at the time of the shooting, shortly after 6 p.m. Eastern Saturday. He had made it known on Friday that he changed plans and would be spending the long weekend here at the White House. In a social media post early Sunday, President Trump thanking the Secret Service and law enforcement officers involved in the shooting and described the gunman as having a violent history and a possible obsession with the White House. A 21-year-old man opened fire near a White House security checkpoint. Now, that man fired 3 shots before federal agents returned fire, killing him. No Secret Service officers were injured, but a man who happened to be in the area was hit by gunfire. D.C. police saying that man will be okay, but he remains in the hospital. That suspect, he's been identified as Nazir Best of Dundalk, Maryland. That's just outside of Baltimore, Maryland. He was on the Secret Service's radar and had a documented history of mental health conditions. According to D.C. court records, Best was arrested last July after attempting to enter a different White House checkpoint without permission and also claiming he was Jesus Christ. This is the 3rd time in the past month that shots have been fired near the president after incidents at the White House Correspondents Association dinner in late April, and then again near the Washington Monument earlier in May. A Secret Service officer there shot a man on the National Mall, which prompted a brief lockdown here at the White House just a few blocks away. So as the president remains here at the White House for the weekend, the administration saying they are not commenting on reports that the U.S. and Iran have reached a principal agreement on reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. Of course, we'll be here all night long monitoring any developments should anything break. That is the latest live here from the White House. Anna?
All right, Chris, thank you so much for that great reporting there from the White House. Appreciate it. All right, joining us now, we have Ricoh Danielson, a U.S. Army combat veteran who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, also a national security expert. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how are you?
So this latest headline, the president or the White House is coming out and saying we are not responding to these reports that Iran and the United States have reached an agreement to on the Strait of Hormuz there. Does that tell you anything?
Yeah, so there's a big difference between having a peace deal and a temporary ceasefire. Iran needs to come to the deal desk with a lot better proposal. Specifically, the uranium enrichment has to be mortuary. It has to be put away because there's no way that this country should own a nuclear weapon whatsoever. Now, nuclear enrichment for civilians, that's a little bit different conversation. I think Iran is actually negotiating out of the necessity of survival here, not necessarily power, because the United States has taken position of the Strait of Hormuz and is controlling it.
All right, so right now we've got the supreme leader there of Iran, the top military advisor, saying just in the last hour, this coming in just in the last hour, threatening the American economy if the war continues, and says that Iran has the legal right to manage the Strait. They say they have the legal right to manage the Strait, whatever that means. So what happens here with both sides trying to show strength as a deal is hammered out, and Iran has talked about, trying to have a toll booth there, essentially?
Yeah, Iran doesn't have much strength right now because their military has been demolished. Their leadership is geo-displaced and displaced, and there's a big friction right there. And number two, this is international waters. They're choke holding the world economy, not just the United States. So while they may have the inventory, there's a bigger demand on the other side from the globe itself. So this is where you're going to see countries come together, and power through Iran if they don't get it right.
Yeah, and the president has repeatedly said that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, and he said that the U.S. has made it impossible for that to be so already. Listen here.
Iran is going to have a nuclear weapon if we don't stop them. And I said, we're going to have to do it, and we have stopped them. They're not going to ever have a nuclear weapon.
All right, and Iran's president is now saying that Tehran wants to assure the world that it is not seeking nuclear weapons. What does Iran need to do to prove this so that a true peace agreement actually can be made? Because they, of course, have maintained that they want nuclear material for peaceful purposes.
You can't have a nuclear weapon and chant death to America for decades on out. One of them has to stop. And unfortunately, the nuclear weapon has to stop because they haven't shown progress on death America at all whatsoever. So unfortunately, they just can't have this. And they're going to be going back to the 15th century or whatever they want, because we're going to keep bombing them, unfortunately, until they change that cultural perspective of we have to be collaborative effort, joint collaboration with Iran and the United States and under one globe, if you will, instead of saying death to America.
Right. All right. Well, ever since I can remember, they've been doing that. Pakistan has really emerged as a key go-between here again. What does that tell you?
So I find it very interesting with Pakistan and other world leaders, talking about 4, 5, 6 leaders coming to one leader, the United States of America, coming together saying, hey, we need to broker a deal. So that should show the world, the United States, that how much power the U.S. has and how much lever it has. Now, it could be Pakistan, it could be any other country. It really doesn't matter. But in reality, situations that we have to come to a deal with this.
All right. So say a deal is inked soon. I mean, what is the future of Iran? They're essentially a one commodity economy anyway, and they've been firing at their neighbors. They haven't been making any friends here.
Yeah, the fact that they have actually destroyed their relationship, not only in the globe, but also in the region. Let's just say a deal is pencil whipped, everything's good to go, we're Gucci, we're moving forward. They're going to have to do a lot of collateral damage control, if you will, and actually, pony up some money for what they did in Qatar, pony up some money what they didn't do by mend those relationships and come to the deal and come to the United States and also global powers and say, hey, we're sorry. Here's how we're going to fix this.
All right, and we've been getting reporting from our Robert Sherman there. He's been reporting live for us from Qatar, and he said that that Israel is really concerned about Hezbollah right now in Lebanon and doesn't feel like Lebanon is equipped to be able to root out this terror proxy, of course, of Iran. We're also learning that the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is publicly praising Trump. He's stroking his ego a little bit, but they've got a great relationship, or they have. The best friend, he says, he calls Trump, the best friend Israel has ever had is in the White House. And also, we've seen President Trump backing Israel on defending itself against Iranian-backed terror groups like Hezbollah and Hamas. He says deal or no deal. What does this show you about Israel and the United States alignment on the bigger picture here?
When it comes to Israel and the United States alignment on terrorist organizations, it's very simple. There is no negotiation. They're going to be eradicated here real soon. And on top of that, there's no dealing and making a deal with them. And whoever deals with them as a proxy as well. So I think the statement here is move aside or get aside.
All right, we've got this now. Prime Minister Netanyahu also says that he spoke with President Trump and that both leaders agree that any final deal must remove Iran's enriched nuclear material and dismantle its enrichment sites. But an Iranian source is telling Reuters that there is still no agreement on that very issue. How much of a collision course do you see here in this next phase of talks?
I think this is going to be the linchpin, whether the United States or Iran and also Israel come to an agreement saying, hey, what type of specific uranium enrichment, what type of nuclear power is wanted, and what's truly achievable without achieving nuclear weapons. I believe, regardless, Iran's going to have some sort of nuclear capability, some maybe a power plant to power its facilities and civilization. But when it comes to enrichment, power enrichment, uranium enrichment, and whatnot, and weapons specifically, that just can't happen. And I think either by force or by merit, Israel and the United States will have its way.
Okay, just to underscore for our viewers here, we have this breaking news that President Trump has said the Iranian deal is not fully negotiated yet, and also the White House has said they will not be commenting on these reports that a deal has been hammered out to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. In these reports, though, it apparently has different phases. If a deal has phases like that, who does that give more leverage to, the United States or Iran?
So I believe this actually is a multi-phase approach, right? If they meet these conditions and standards at this specific phase, they'll allow less pressure, like, allowing more traffic going through the Strait of Hormuz, not bombing Iran as much, or taking out the critical infrastructure. So as Iran meets these different phases and milestones and pinnacle points, the United States will more likely less off the pressure. Now, more likely, Iran's going to go back on the word, and the United States is going to do what we do the best and show them what time it is.
All right. Ricoh Danielson, U.S. Army combat veteran, national security expert, and someone with firsthand experience on issues like this shaping the conflict. Glad to have you today. Thank you for your service. And before we go, quickly, what does Memorial Day mean to you?
Memorial Day is honoring the ones who've fallen off and, giving the ultimate sacrifice. To my fellow veterans, I love y'all, and let's just do right by our fallen brothers and sisters.
Yeah, beautifully said. Thank you for joining us. All right, 12 minutes after the hour, on to this now. Turning to this